What is up, my friends? So Apostle is the latest Netflix film, and let me tell you, Netflix, holy fuck, they're getting really great with the distribution of their films, and they have amazing work, and this is just the latest of it. Now, I do have to see The Haunting on House of Hill, The House on Haunted Hill, whatever the case is. I heard it's a pretty good show, but I checked out this movie today, and holy fuck, let me tell you, this is directed by the same guy who did The Raid and Raid 2. I didn't realize that till after the film, but I can definitely see it now after some of the action scenes in this movie. This movie basically follows, however, it's more along the sides of a horror, sort of like thriller, slow burn type film. Not that action film that The Raid is known for, but still, he does a great job with this. This film follows Thomas Richardson, who is played by Dan Stevens, and the year is 1905, so more of a period piece this is. He travels to an island to go look for his sister. Now, his sister has been taken into by this cult, and they're going to use her for a sacrifice or something like that. So they're asking for a ransom, but he plans on just getting her back, and he goes to this island to try and retrieve her. Now, this cult basically is like, the ringleader of this is a guy named Malcolm, but he's also with a friends named Frank and Quinn, and they basically came to this island. They got shipwrecked, and they found out that they had like this sort of goddess that was there, and it was going to help them with the crops. So they started to build this sort of fan base around them, and here we are with the cult now. So we come to find out throughout the film that this cult is actually real, and there's actually a goddess of sorts and some really weird butcher minion thing that's like around her as well. They do have to feed her blood. They do this by sacrificing smaller animals, but it seems that they're going more like the goddess is done with this and she wants something more, so they plan on going into human sacrificing. Now, this is something that Malcolm really doesn't want to get into, but the other one, Quinn, doesn't mind. So Malcolm is just like, I'm just going to feed her my blood for now and see how that goes. But there's really nothing that happens. The crops don't grow or anything like that. And we see that the goddess is actually being trapped, and she doesn't want to be like held without like she has no free will in this. She's just being used as a machine basically, and this is something that Quinn points out as well during the movie. Now, while all this is happening, Thomas is looking for answers for his sister. He ultimately does find where his sister is located. He goes to find her, but however, he realizes quickly that what's going on in this village is actual like deities and gods and stuff that are actually being held captive. Well, there's only one goddess, and that is sort of like a mother nature type, but there's also some weird creature demonic thing that I'm telling you from the beginning, and he quickly realizes that there has to be an end to all of this. Now, he does end up in a cave, and Malcolm's daughter actually finds him there. She explains everything, and she tells him that this land is actually forsaken, and it's just the goddess that's making everything happen. But lately, she's just been not doing anything, and we can go back to the movie where we see Malcolm struggling to keep her alive, basically, because she needs to be sort of like free to be able to do all of this. But if she's free, she's not going to listen to them, and then they won't have the power over the people anymore, so they have to keep on feeding her in order to keep her alive. The butcher person, whatever it is the one that's just cutting up people or whatever and just feeding it to her. Now, a little into this movie, we do see a power struggle start to happen between Quinn and Malcolm. This all starts when Quinn finds out that his daughter is actually pregnant with one of the villagers there. He ultimately kills her for this, and then he frames the guy. Then they actually get the guy because he was framed by Quinn, and they actually purify him, or basically torture and kill him at the end. His father is actually Frank, one of Quinn's friends and founders of the island and the prophets, and he pretty much goes berserk after this. Now, Quinn, on a power struggle, tells Malcolm that he's going to be the new leader, and then all hell breaks loose when Frank's like, I'm going to end this once and for all. He goes into the woods to kill the goddess, but then he's being chased by Quinn and Malcolm and everybody else. Then we see that they're trying to kill Thomas as well, because they figured out as well that he is the guy who's out there looking for his sister, and they want the money, but he's not giving it to them. And then pretty much it's just a hell on like chase from everybody chasing each other. We see Frank be killed by the butcher demon thing, and then we see that Quinn shoots Malcolm and he falls into a little hole. Thomas does find his sister, but he is then taken by the demonic butcher thing, and he is basically about to be killed in some grinder of sorts. Quinn is back in the village taking control and hostage of everybody, and then Thomas actually finds a way out of this like meat grinder thing, and he actually puts the demon down, and then the goddess tells him to burn it all, and she is like, you have to just do this. This is the only way I can be free. Thomas, of course, does this. He starts burning everything, the house, the village, the goddess, all of it. Quinn is pissed off, but Thomas comes just in time to kill him. He saves his sister as well as Malcolm's daughter. And then we see them try to run to the boat as the village is burning. But Thomas at this point is pretty weak and he can't make it. He tells his sister and Malcolm's daughter to go on without him. Then we see them leave the boat and everything. Thomas is left to die. But then we see Malcolm appear. And then sort of like Thomas starts to like become one with the earth. And you see his eyes start to get this sort of gray tint on them. And then we see Malcolm and Thomas just have a little laugh, a sort of like sympathy as well. And Thomas just becomes one with the earth. And ultimately, I believe he becomes the next guardian of that earth. So what the hell just happened? So as I said, Thomas was a non-believer from the beginning. But I think as time progressed, especially when we see him tell the lady, may God be with you, we see that he is actually having his faith restored in him. Now, whatever the goddess told Malcolm as well in her tongue must have been something along the lines of, once I'm gone, there will have to be a new protector of this land, and I think that should be you, and I think that's what ultimately happens at the end. At first I thought Thomas was just like dying, and it was like going to be like some cyclical thing with nature and how we die and become one with the earth. But I think as we see that scene again, we see that Thomas doesn't look like he's just blending into the earth. It looks like he is becoming the earth itself, as we see his eyes change and everything. So I think that this is pretty much just showing that Thomas has come to terms with who he is and what his purpose was in this world. He saved his sister, and that's all he wanted to do pretty much, and now he is free to be at peace and become Mother Nature of sorts, if you get what I mean. Malcolm looks like he will definitely stick around, and I mean, they left him on the boat. I'm not sure if they're going to come back for him, but it'd be pretty interesting to see him start trying to do something else on this land, but I don't know. Overall, I thought the movie was pretty great. I think that the gore was pretty like intense, so definitely a movie you don't want to check out with somebody who is weak of heart, especially if these things are kind of queasy, because I was pretty taken aback by how much gore this movie had, and Netflix lately has had a lot of movies like this, so yeah, you should definitely know what you're getting into with this movie. But overall, I did enjoy the story a lot. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I think somebody put it right when they say it's a Wicker Man times like 100, because The Wicker Man is a good movie as well, but the craziest thing that gets into that movie is just the B scene. This movie, I told you, has a freaking meat grinder come out, and holy fuck, I'm just telling you, this movie's intense. So that's my warning to you if you've not seen this movie. But overall, I dug it. I really dug the whole themes about humanity taking control of Mother Nature and just putting it down, and we're just destroying it, and then just for our favor, but not really seeing what Mother Nature needs. Also with the kings and the political stuff, how like we can have a sort of like renaissance at a point, but then that can quickly turn dark, and then political factions split, and there's just a lot of internal fighting. And yeah, and I think that also when we have the butcher person, I think the cocoon is sort of there to represent that this is sort of like hatred that's just been like, you know how a cocoon gets harder and harder as time goes by. I think that the cocoon really is signifying that there is like this hatred that's just been brewing, and it's just getting harder and harder to get by, and we see it because the thing is just representing violence. That's pretty much it. As we see, it's pretty much a sadistic being of sorts. But overall, there's a lot of imagery, there's a lot of things that we can dissect from this movie. I think that one of the main things is pretty much that Thomas became a sort of like Jesus figure in the end, with him sacrificing himself for everybody else to like pretty much go by and live. Like they all had sins, but they all pretty much left, and he was there to sacrifice himself. But that's a long story to talk about. If you want more of that, let me know, and I'll definitely make a video with that. but overall in the end he became the god, the sort of protector of the land. And what do you think? Did you like this movie? Did you not? Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you comment, share, all that good stuff. 6,000 subscribers, so close. And I'll see y'all next time. Stay positive, my friends.